Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Arron Bleise, and this is episode number 97. And on today's podcast, I am joined by Dave Thomas of Bowhunter Planet. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down the flagship bows for 2020 from Bowtech, Mathews, Xpedition, and Hoyt. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. All right, we're back today, and today I have on the podcast Dave Thomas from Bowhunter Planet. Dave, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem. I've been watching your guys' stuff on YouTube and really got intrigued by your bow reviews. And I want to cover some bows today because you guys really get in depth with these bows. You know, the 2020 bows, you got in depth with the Hoyts and the Mathews and the Elites, all that stuff. And I really want to dive a little bit into that and see what we can get accomplished today. How's that sound?
Sounds fun to me.
Well, in the a short version of Bowhunter Planet, because I know we're kind of strapped for some time, can you kind of give everybody a rundown of what Bowhunter Planet is?
Yeah, no problem. So Bowhunter Planet started in 2009, and since then we've been doing a lot of product reviews and built a community around that. People seem to really like that idea of just, having the community as well as having these products that they could learn about. But basically it started as a YouTube page that just basically reviewed products. I mean, like if you think of any market today, you can go online, right? Everybody looks on YouTube for something, whether it's a new keyboard, a video game, whatever. There's videos out there now. But when I started, it wasn't like that in 2009. It was for bow reviews. There's only maybe one other bow review house, maybe two, that did anything like what we were doing. And so from there, it just kind of dwarfed into all sorts of things from hunting shows to podcasts to just tons of great stuff. But in the end, we still stick to our show and our podcast.
Nice. Yeah. And if anybody hasn't listened to the Bowhunter Planet podcast, you need to go listen to it because it's pretty comical. I like listening to it. So, and there's some good information on there. But so today I want to get in. Let's get right off the bat here. Let's start with the 2020 Bowtech Revolt and Revolt X. So when you guys did the review on this, what were your thoughts on this bow, and kind of maybe lay down some specs if you have them in front of you and can do that?
Yeah. So we got the Bowtech before it launched. That was actually exciting. I always love when companies trust us enough. We sign NDAs, obviously, with most of them. We have one on file already, but it's really nice when they trust you enough to give you the bow up front. But Bowtech and us go back now about 4 or 5 years, and we made some really good relationships there, and they do a lot of work with us, which is great. And not just in the bow reviews, they'll have us do some extra shoots for them, to go do some photos for them. So it's really nice that the relationship has been there with them. Now, that being said, with their bows, it was this bow for me. The Revolt was interesting for me because I didn't think they could beat their other bows, is my point. I'm not just saying that. Like, I know it sounds like, oh, whatever, it's just because it's next best bow. No, the SS was an amazing bow. The SS I took down to Texas. I was invited to Texas this past year with Faradyne Outdoors. So Faradyne invited me out there, test out their Rage products, some of their other stuff, their Carb Express arrows. They invited us down there. Not us, I should say, just me, but the guys wish they could have went. So they invited me to Texas to go on a hunt with Lazy CK Ranch hunt. It was absolutely amazing. And special thanks Faradyne for doing that and inviting me to that. But I took that bow on that hunt, so the Realm SS, and it was unbelievable. In fact, I outshot everybody at that camp, which was crazy. I killed 4 animals. I went 4 for 4 with like hard shots. I mean, it was literally unreal. So I came back just, sending them messages like, this is unbelievable. It was just, and the reason I say that, it had a very smooth draw cycle. It was easy to hold back. You could hold it all day, the Realm SS. And so, to me, that was checked off 5 stars, tried and true. I didn't really need to shoot it again, right? But I still did, and that was the funny part. In the bow season, I ended up using it because I was having a hard time putting it down because of that. And I'm not the kind of person that shoots one bow the whole year. I usually shoot literally 5 different bows throughout a year, just because I want to test the different things. Right. And I have the time and we have the bow, so it doesn't make sense not to.
Yep.
So anyhow, I'll try to go a little faster. Sorry. So the
No, you're
Revolt
good.
came out, and I was blown away. Like, I was like, "Are you freaking serious right now? Like, this bow is even nicer than the." I mean, it was literally the hardest thing for me to chew on because I couldn't believe it. And I was when I shot it, I was literally. I mean, we don't show everything in the videos, but I was literally jaw dropped that the bow would be even nicer. And one of the things that intrigued me most about the Revolt, 30-inch axle, so it was very small. Their IBO was 335, so it still had the speed to it. But the biggest thing that blew me away was the brace height at 7.25 inches. Now, when we talk about a brace height that large, we haven't really seen that since the Mathews Switchback.
Yep.
That was a very large brace height. I think want to say 8 inches or more. So to get away from 6 and in 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, and push past 7 was like mind blowing to me. So, and that made me super excited because generally, if you have a bigger brace height, the arrow gets out of your bow faster, so that you are, if you're shaking or get buck fever or something, it's going to help you just a little bit, but it could be enough to make the shot. So the Revolt and the Revolt X to me were just amazing bows this year. I haven't done my yet until later in the year. I'll probably do a 2020 top 5 type thing. This bow will definitely be in the top 5.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
So what's the difference between the Revolt and the Revolt X then?
Yeah, so the Revolt X is going to add a little bit of it's going to shorten your brace height, and it's going to add axle to axle.
Okay.
So basically, as you stretch the bow, right,
Yep.
the brace height's going to come in because you don't have a choice. So it goes to a 33-inch axle, 6.5-inch brace height, which is still good. The 6.5 is more normal that we would see like on an SR6
Yep.
Or any other brand. Most brands do a 6.5 generally. So that's why I was blown away when I saw that 7.
That's really cool.
Pretty cool.
So I was reading up on some of their new stuff on this bow, and I'm big into tuning bows and working on bows, and I see that they have a deadlock system, which looks really intriguing to me. I did not dive into it because I wanted to hear it from you first. What is this deadlock system?
So deadlock is just the whole word itself, deadlock. So it locks every aspect can be locked in place where it can't get loose or anything. And what they did basically is they made it to where their cam can do all the adjustments for you. So a lot of people will tune a bow, right? So if you're a bow person, you know how to tune a bow. You start playing with the cams, you have to do all this stuff. But in the end, the deadlock system allowed them to tune the bow by sliding the cams over left and right, and then locking them in. And so that's how you would tune the bow instead of have to manually take everything apart and refit it.
Okay.
So it changed the industry, in my opinion, when they launched this. This was something that I have not seen before. I'm pretty sure it's new technology, but I have never actually seen something like that.
Okay. Yeah, and that what it looks like, the pictures on the website looks pretty interesting. I might have to look more into that because I'm a geek when it comes to bow tuning, so I want to know a little bit more about that. Lastly,
sure. And it's definitely something you need to kind of deep dive because you're going to want to understand if it works or doesn't work in your mind.
For sure.
A lot of archers who are techs, so far from what I've heard, they like it. It's going to work. It's going to work. So, and what we've seen, they've already put it on the Reckoning 38 last year here. This actually might have been the 2020. So in a lot of our guys were saying that, I can only see this eventually moving to the hunting bows, which made sense to me.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And then I see that they offer 13 different, like colors and camos. I see. Like
yes, you see that.
There's a wide variety of things you can get on this thing.
Yes, and they added this Woodlands, which a lot of people are pumped about, this Woodlands camo. Yes, it's basically the old school general camo that you would see on like hunting hats or
like Army camo, wasn't it?
Army camo, yeah, that's a good example.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like Woodlands is basically Army camo.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
But people are pumped about that. Not to mention the Omni fades, which look absolutely stunning. They got, I believe, Cryptek's still here. And I think they brought in Realtree back. So I don't know if you know, but Bowtech used to only have Mossio a few years back. Yep. So now there's been a push with Realtree again, which is great. Love to see it. My opinion is the industry, companies like this need to be working together. It makes no sense. But they did launch a smoke gray that looks phenomenal.
Yep.
If you haven't seen that, look at that one. It looks really cool.
So what does this bow end up pricing out at? Do you have that in front of you?
I think this bow is $11.99. I'm not positive though.
Okay.
It's either $9.99 or $11.99.
Gotcha.
I'm looking on their website to try to find it for you, but I don't see it. MSRP is not on here that I can see. But I would assume it's $11.99. Most
Gotcha.
of these bows are in that price point nowadays. I think Obsession might be $9.99.
Yep. Okay.
Expedition might be $9.99, but I'm pretty sure right around that price point.
Cool.
These are, again, the premiums. Generally, when we do these bow reviews, they always send the premium model.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
we're trying to work on that actually with all the companies to get to a, hey, we still want to do the 500, right? Because some people can't afford it. You got to have some options.
Yep. Definitely. So let's move on here. Let's dump into the Mathews VXR here, and this is something that hits home to me because I shoot a 31.5. So I'm interested to see what you think about the 28 and the 31.5 because I haven't shot the 28 yet. So let's take it from there.
Yeah. So for Mathews, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to say good things about Mathews, honestly. They're really the kind of company that is the standard, that they've really done a lot of great things in this industry. And, their bows have always been top notch. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And it speaks for itself, the amount of people who shoot their bows. The VXR 28, to me, is the bow. Like, I love the 28. So I am a short axle kind of guy. When Gearhead launched their bows, those tiny bows, At first I'm like, no way. I shot that bow and I was blown away how nice it shot. And so for me, when I go back to Mathews, for me, they've always offered a 28 of some sort. And I love that they do that. And this bow, this VXR, was a really, really good shooting bow. And I love the design. I love the cams. They have these huge cams on their bows that makes it look really cool. They have short limbs. Basically, they kind of created a new standard of bow. I don't know if you've realized this, but Mathews is the first one to show these short limbs, huge cam, and now you see that kind of going across the industry. Not everywhere, but you are seeing it on
It's
more
catching
brands.
on for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so this one, it has a 6-inch brace, so it's right in the middle. But again, that's a standard size, and that's why I always said like 6 is around the area. But one of the things they launched that I thought was really cool is this whole silent system where you can actually bring the bow up. They basically put this SCS piece, Silent Connect system, that's what it's called. Silent Connect system, they put it built in, so you can use this for different things, whether it's you want to mount your strap to it to carry the bow out, you want to bring up the bow and down, you don't have to hook it to your cam no more. So it was really cool to see that kind of tech, like coming up with those ideas and using them.
Yeah, to me that was like next level thinking. Like,
Absolutely.
all these bow companies are getting to the point where what are they going to come out with next that's going to be groundbreaking? Now I'm not saying this is groundbreaking, but this is like something that's like, like why didn't I think of that? And it's
Correct.
I love it. They offer the sling. You can get a sling for it, and they offer the bow pull up rope, and it's perfect. I mean, it's marketing, and it's and it's functionality is great, and I really enjoy that because I haven't got to use that much this year because I got the bow late after launch, but I'm excited to use it next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in this bow, $10.99 MSRP. So to be honest, it's Mathews. It's worth every penny of it. To be honest, so there's no doubt in my mind. Again, all these bows are right in that price point anyway. So 80 or 85% let off their offer on this bow. 25.5 to 30-inch draw lengths and up to 344 feet per second, 4.44 pounds. And, again, 28 is unbelievable. And, they one thing is interesting to me about Mathews is the Ridge Reaper deal with Under Armour.
Yeah.
I thought that was strange because Under Armour doesn't really work with many people, if you've noticed in the industry. You don't see them on a lot. So I thought it was interesting they still have that going. I thought that would have been gone a long time ago, to be honest. But that's still going, which is fine. But I just think it's interesting that they don't have that. But they do offer a stone color that is absolutely amazing.
Yep.
And looks really,
so
really
my
cool.
Verdix, I got a Verdix, and it's in stone, and it looks so good. And then I'm like, that's my favorite looking bow. And then I got the VXR 31 in a green ambush, and that green finish is beautiful. I mean, it is the sexiest bow I think I've ever had, to this Verdix. But I got the green ambush, and they don't offer as many as Bowtech, but they offer, Realtree and the Optifades, like you said, like the Sitka patterns and the Under Armour, and then the stone and the black. So, and they got a really cool look. When I look at these bows and what they look like, they almost look like when you look like at a Ferrari ad or something like that. They're just clean, and that's what's cool to me as well, is they just they're sexy, and you just want to shoot them just because of the way they look, you know.
I agree. They speak performance. They look at, you know what I mean? Like, so, but that's Mathews again. You can't, you know, if you're going categories, you're at a part where it's like you're buying a Cadillac, you're buying a Lexus, you're buying a Mercedes,
sure.
right? You're in that range, and Mathews is absolutely the highest end of that range. And frankly, at a price that I think is about right. I mean, you're talking Hoyt carbon bows, $1,700. So
that's
realistically, it is. So realistically, if you want a premium bow that's not carbon, this is pretty much, you know, this and Hoyt and Bowtech are at that top of that level right in there, you know. And there's a whole bunch of other brands, actually, elite other ones that do a great job too. But you know, it's a Mathews, so people have a certain love for Mathews, and Mathews deserves it. They've done a great job, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and to add a few things, just because I'm in the weeds with, you know, Mathews and shot them for a couple years now, and you know, they have that Engage grip back, and that Engage grip is really comfortable in the hand. I mean, they make it now to where you can kind of adjust it as well, I think, and really get really fitted to yourself. And honestly, from the Verdicts to the VXR 31. You know, the VXR 31.5, sorry, it did go up 1.5 inches in you know, axle to axle, but the brace sight, I think they're basically the same. I think they're both 6s. The big difference, I guess you could say, is from my Verdicts to that one is the VXR, when I get it back at full draw, I feel like I can hold it better. And that was, I think, what they were going for. The riser is actually longer. Even though, you know, the axle to axle is only 1.5 inches longer, the riser is longer, and I just feel like when I get to full draw, I can hold it better. I don't know. Did you pick on that at all?
Yeah, I agree. I think the bow holds really well. The valley's great. The draw cycle's great. I love the grip on this bow is unreal. And then I like how the grip actually, right where the shelf is, it actually comes up and over now a little bit more. I love that. But also I think is cool, not to mention this cool riser, but they've, over the last couple bows, they have this extra piece of riser that sticks out over the pocket of the bottom limb to help stabilize the bow. It's almost like a built-in stabilizer in a way. But that thing just looks sick.
Yeah, it does.
And if you put the right accessories on this bow, it is like, what are you running as accessories on it?
So I've got a 10-inch Mathews stabilizer off the front, and then I run an 8-inch sidebar, a V-bar off the back, and then my accessories as far as colors. You know, with the green ambush, I was going with that kind of OD green kind of look with a string, and then I love burnt orange, so the heat shrink on the string, I made it burnt orange, so it's got a little bit of orange to it, but I went more like sleek and kind of not so, you know, colorful, I guess. It's kind of like a darker green. Rest is black. Cool. My sight's black, so everything's just kind of more just low profile. But you can get as loud as you want with these things, though. I mean, the neon greens and the oranges and everything, you can do whatever you want with them.
I don't know if people realize this, but Mathews has one of the most advanced websites you can get for building a bow. It is literally unreal. Seen nothing like it in the industry. You go through specs, riser, limb, strings, cable, serving, all the way through. Everything can be customized. Now they don't sell it to you direct, but they're going to have it sent to a local rep, and then they can, you know, you can buy it through them, but they'll build it to the exact way you want it, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And their stabilizers are cool too. So they do have their own accessories. And the thing about Mathews that's special is that Matt's been doing it for a very long time. He's always had a top-notch bow, you know, and they've never done anything wrong, in my opinion. I think they've done a lot of great stuff over the years and a lot of cool inventions. I love the helium. I love the concept of a balloon holding up the bow. I thought that was genius to show how slight it was. I mean, it was really some really cool marketing stuff they've done over the years, and they've worked with great companies and great shows. They've really done the right stuff. I'm not going to lie. They put together a company based on a lot of great business moves, and they made a great product.
Yep. And lastly, I did say that before, but I forgot about this too. When you shoot this bow, like, you could have no stabilizers, no dampening on or nothing. There is literally absolutely zero hand shock. This thing,
I would agree.
This bow is second to none when it comes to hand shock, and you don't even almost feel like the bow goes off. It's that silent, that, you know, no vibrations to it. So that was my selling point to it as well.
I think so for us now, since we've done the reviews on those bows, the next step for us, the most logical step, is the TX5. I definitely want to get my hands on this thing. It looks sweet. I want to put this thing through the paces. Maybe the Traverse. These are two we haven't actually done yet. We did do the Tactic, and that was a great bow at that price point. I mean, really, if you can't afford a lot, that is a great option for an archer who still wants a Mathews bow. It is literally a nice bow.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, let's move on here. Next one on the list is Xpedition, the Mako series, and I don't know hardly anything about Xpedition, so that's why I wanted to pick your brain on it. So take it from there. I mean, let's hear about these bows.
Look out. Xpedition's amazing. Xpedition came out a few years back. It was owned by a company in South Dakota. We started working with them back then a little bit, and they, at the one time, they had the same designers, Obsession, Kevin Struther. And I think some of that has changed now. I think Kevin still does work for Xpedition. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he doesn't work for Obsession anymore. I don't know what happened there, but none of my business. But so the designs were kind of similar, is my point here. So at one point you had Obsession bows having a design that's pretty similar to an Xpedition. Some differences, but there was a lot of similarities, and people would always think they're sister companies when actually they were not. But that was kind of the reason behind that. So for a few years there, you had that going on. Now it's just, Xpedition's got their own design. Obsession has completely changed, and we just reviewed one of those last night, and it was unbelievable as well. But going to Xpedition, this bow is a great shooting bow, and they put these cages in it now, and the cages came back a while ago. I think Elite started the cage concept.
Yep.
And it was always a great concept. Once we saw it originally, people were like, I don't know about this, but really it's done a lot to riser design and structure and strength. And so a lot of companies are doing it now. You'll see in tons of different, from PSE to Mathews to everybody's doing some sort of cage in there. So anyway, with this Xpedition is now owned by another owner. So it got sold from the South Dakota guys who owned it before. A new guy bought it. Chris Cobbett now is part, one of the guys running Xpedition now. Chris is a great guy. And he's really done a great job this year with this bow. It looks amazing, this MX16 and 15. These both look absolutely incredible looking bows. They shoot great. They have a great grip, great draw cycle. So they're a contender. There's no doubt about it. They're the same price as a Mathews. So this is one of those examples of rising companies coming up. People have to make decisions. Do I want the standard, which would be a premium Mathews, or do I want to try something different just because I want to try it, right? You're not going to really always follow Mathews guide to something new. No doubt about it. That's not going to happen. But some guys are out there saying, you know what, I just want to try something different. So this is where companies like Xpedition, Obsession, Elite, they start to fill that void, right? For people who want to try something new. But it's a great bow. Honestly, it's a great bow. They offer some great options. Again, 1099, 26 and 31 inch draw length, 348 to 352 feet per second.
So it's pretty quick.
4.2 pounds. It's quick. It's light. They got a lot of good things going for it. And again, it's 80% let off. So it's a great solid bow. And again, if you look at this bow, you have thinner limbs, you have longer limbs than, like, say, a Mathews. They're not like a thick, short limb. And you have basically a really cool looking riser that from the side looks like it's just one, like a 2D, and then you turn and you're like, whoa, this thing really just explodes in these cool moves and grooves, and
for sure
it looks good.
It's a good looking bow, and the colors it comes in, it says that Realtree Timber, Realtree Edge, Realtree Escape, Molten Black, Tactical Sand, and OPS Green. So they do offer some good colors, good camo patterns. Yeah, and it looks like this bow here, you can get it in camo, riser, and black limbs, and I'm a sucker for that. I like that.
Yeah, so. Oh yeah. They got a lot of customization as well. I'm sure they can do even more stuff. They probably just don't label everything.
Yep, and that's the MX16, correct? You were talking about?
Yep.
Okay, yep. So that's, it's a
but
good
we
looking
haven't
bow.
we haven't reviewed the others yet. There's the 15, which we're going to work on getting our hands on coming up, and then they also have this DLX, this Escape. So there's definitely some stuff that we're going to try to play with, talk to Chris this year and get working on. But, it's a great bow. And they had the Mako last year. We had that in the field with a couple of guys who were using it on the team. They loved it, super fast. And one of the things you'll notice about these bows is when you fire, and you'll know this right away when it happens. And it does happen on the Mathews too. So you're used to it now. But when you shoot one of these bows, you feel a lot of power. And then all of a sudden you fire and you notice that the arrow hits the target long before you feel like you fired. So It's like unbelievable feeling. It's just like this quick, punch, and Xpedition Obsession both have had that since I remember starting, just that quick punch, no questions asked, dead flight, boom. It's just, and it says a lot. You know what I mean? It says a
For
lot.
sure.
They're very high performance.
Yep. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Hoyt. Now, Hoyt is something I pay attention to what Hoyt's doing from afar, but I don't really dive into the weeds on this. But let's get into their first bow here. You did the Carbon RX4 Alpha series, correct?
Yeah, we did. Let's see. I gotta make sure I get these right. I think we did the Ultra and the Turbo.
Okay, so
we didn't do the Alpha.
Okay, let's do the RX4 Ultra then.
Yeah. So the Ultra is like, okay, so I guess you can explain the Ultra like by saying it's basically the standard at 34-inch axle, but 6 3/4 brace height, 4.1 pounds. So again, for carbon, it's on the lighter end, obviously because it's carbon. Price point though, $1,750. So it definitely has a huge number behind it. But again, this is not for everybody. This is going to be for the guy who has a lot of money or doesn't care. Like, okay, I mean, we have to put this in the perspective of it's your hobby, okay?
Yeah.
So if you're a golfer, you're spending $1,000 a year on one club. You're going to golf, right? Golf's expensive. Archery's pretty cheap to shoot compared to golf, right?
Yeah,
if you go out and do a hole or whatever. I'm just saying, it could be tennis, it could be pickleball, it could be anything.
Yeah.
If you have a passion for something, you love it, you're going to spend money on it, no doubt about it. Now, that being said, any of these carbon bows Hoyt has done could last you a lifetime. I mean, you don't have to buy a new one every couple of years. You can if you're into it, right? My recommendation to anybody for any bow is sell it every 2 years and get a new one because the technology changes so rapidly and you don't lose a ton of costs on reselling your old one used. So you're better off just keep upgrading. I mean, I would never keep, no point,
Right.
Strings can rot, things get, forget that. So again, this bow is a very good shooting bow, very smooth. Hoyt has a lot going for it when it comes to bows. They have a lot of history over 80 years, and what I like about Hoyt is they get on something and they don't just walk away from it. They stick to it. And you can see that in the riser designs for these and their other bows. They kind of have been sticking to this for a long time. They haven't fully went away from the designs you're seeing. You see some changes for sure, but there's still that same feel to it,
Yep.
like a Mathews has not done that. Mathews has changed. They went from a honeycomb, right, to like this whole new looking riser, so they have made progressive changes in their mind to make a better bow, what they believe is a better bow.
And a solo cam to a dual cam too. I mean,
correct. They've done
solo
a lot
cam
of changes.
forever. Yeah.
Whereas Hoyt has had the same cam system for a very long time. But it's proven and it worked. And so why would you change it? Right. So I think these are some of those things that you run into with them, is like, okay, why did you do this? Or how'd you do that? I think that's part of that. I also think that when you look at hunting bows, the carbon is a great option if you can afford it. It warms the touch. It is light. It is easy to maneuver. It doesn't make sounds like a metal would. So if you hit it on a tree branch, you hit your release on it, it's a dampening sound, not like a loud high pitch. So there's a lot of advantage to this. And again, 3.9 pounds on the Alpha is 3.9 pounds. So it's super, super light. And what happens there, and we talk about a lot in our podcast and on the show, is when you have a lighter bow, you can offset that with heavier accessories. So if you have a HHA optimizer who's super big and it's got it's a little bit heavier than let's say a little carbon, tiny sight, you can offset that weight. So you're not overly having tons of weight in your bow. And maybe you can get rid of a stabilizer. Now you might have to add one, right? So there's a couple ways to look at it, I guess, from a perspective of the weight. So this, you don't have to have a light bow, like a Mathews 4.4, 4.5, that's fine. And then maybe you cut back on your sight and do a little bit smaller sight. So you can always self-level these things. It just comes down to how you what you really want in a bow, or do you really want a 9-pound bow after you add all that stuff on?
Right.
Everybody's different. And, you might be stronger than me, so for you it might not be a big deal. You're like, I like a heavy bow, I don't want a super light bow. So
yep. And this bow comes in at 34 axle to axle, 34 inches. To me, that's long. That's a big bow, because I'm more of that 30-inch, 31-inch. That's where my wheelhouse is. So that's a pretty long bow.
For me, I agree. I'm a 31 as well. It's my favorite number. And 28, I told you in some aspects. So I'm big into the 28, 30 in the 31. I'm good with that area. Now the Alpha series is 29 and a half. So I think that's where you get to the short carbon bow. If that's what people need. I didn't shoot that one personally yet, and I would love to, but I didn't get it. So that was one that would be great. Now, if we move to the turbo, what I would suggest on the turbo is, first off, the Ultra is more like your standard shooting bow. So it feels great back wall, all that. Turbo is a little bit harder to draw, but this bow is so powerful. Like literally, I was blown away.
Yeah,
this one's
jumps up to
350
feet per second too.
350 now. Okay, now keep in mind 350 feet per second based on the way they do their speed test, which is, I believe, a 30-inch draw. There's some other, I don't know the weights. I mean, it's not the same as ours.
Yep.
So with ours, we ran a speed test of a 350 grain arrow, 29 inches of draw, and 70 pounds. This bow was flat out shooting 330 feet per second. That's unbelievable. That's a hunting arrow.
Yeah.
It was so fast. I couldn't believe it when I shot this bow. I was like blown away by the power. Now, again, look at the axle on this one at 31, but look at the brace height, right?
Little brace height. Yep.
That's what happens when we talk about speed and power, and you're getting. So this is a good middle bow for people. I would definitely, if you like power, this bow is literally awesome. No doubt about it. If you're looking for speed and you're a hunter and you got to have speed, speed's your big thing, this would be it. But if you're going to get a Hoyt and speed's not your thing, I would absolutely look at the Alpha series and the Ultra series, is my opinion. They're a little bit smoother, and that's why I said that.
Yeah, so the turbo, just to run down some specs, 350 feet per second, 31-inch axle, 5 7/8 brace height. So that's a little brace height to me. And 4 pounds, that's what the bow is total weight with nothing on it, and it's MSRP is $1,749. So that's a pricey bow.
Very pricey.
Yeah,
you're going to pay.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the standard with Hoyt, though. They've always been a little more pricey. And then I don't know if we touched on it with the Alpha, but the bow we did before, it's 342 feet per second, 29, and so this is the Alpha. We did the Ultra first. So let me go back here. I don't want to mix everybody up. So let's do the Ultra one. 334 feet per second, 34 inches of axle, 6 3/4 inch brace height, and 4.1 pounds. So to me, that's a long bow. I wouldn't shoot that bow because it feels so long to me. That's just my personal preference, though.
So if to be fair to Hoyt in a couple of categories here, if we move to aluminum, they have that same series. They have Ultra, Alpha, and Turbo all in the aluminum series. So the price point is in line with what you see from Mathews and other guys. So if you want to go, but I haven't shot these, so I can't really speak to them just yet. One of the things I talked to Hoyt about this year was I want, part of what we want to do with them is that we want to review all these bows, not just the carbon, but the aluminum and the cheaper bows all the way down.
Yep.
Because it's important for us to try to bring to the consumer everything they want to find, right? If they want to find a $400 bow, they got to have that option, right? I don't want to just show them a premium bow every time, because let's face it, people can't afford certain things, so it's you got to try to go across the spectrum.
Right.
So I'm hoping we get to at least get these aluminums in sooner than later, so we can at least give a better feel of apples to apples when you're talking about a Mathews to a Hoyt, the best you can. It's not going to be perfect, but anyway, and real quick, I'll throw this in there. We went to Hoyt this year. Hoyt invited us. We stopped in Hoyt and did a podcast live in their building with them, and it was an incredible experience. They talked about the pricing. We brought it up because we didn't shy away from hard questions, and they answered them. And it's all on our podcast. You can listen to it, but they answered why a premium carbon bow costs so much, and why you can get aluminum, and why that costs what it does. And I'll be honest, I watched how they make the bows, especially the aluminum. It starts in this huge brick and comes all the way down to this beautiful riser that you see. And so to me, it's worth every penny you're seeing when you see these numbers, because it is an incredible process, a lot of work, a lot of machines moving. And I know manufacturing is kind of my background, so it's not cheap to run stuff like that. So I completely understand from their perspective, and carbon tube and all that stuff is a whole different level of cost. So if you need it, they offer it. If you don't, then go with the aluminum.
There you go. Well, hey, I really hate to cut this off because I know you've got some obligations to get to as well. And we covered 4 bows today, so I think we need to get on again and do some more. I know some people wrote in, they want to hear about the Elites and the PSC.
The Elites.
Yep. So I know there's some more bows that we need to cover. So I think we're going to cut her off here, and we'll jump on this again, and we'll cover the rest of them. So how's that sound?
That'll work. I'll have some more for you guys too. Next time I come back, we can do the Elite, the PSC. I'll have Obsession now, and I'm sure we'll have a few more right here after ATA.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and doing this in short notice, and let's stay in touch, and let's do this again, man.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, there it is. I mean, there's a lot of information in about 45 minutes right here, but I wanted to have Dave on because these guys, year in and year out, they get these bows from these companies and they go through these things with a fine-tooth comb. And I really enjoy talking to these guys, and they're in the business of putting out unbiased information to everybody out there so they can have a good review and figure out where their money's going to go and what bow they want to get. These bows are not cheap. So they're trying to do the best they can to get the information out there, and that's why I wanted to go to these guys. We started with these first 4 bow companies, but we are going to do another podcast and cover a whole other section of these companies, maybe Prime and Obsession, PSC, Elite, companies like that. We want to get everything out there that we can. So I want to thank Dave for coming on and doing this, and please everybody go out there and leave a 5-star rating to the podcast. Thank you for supporting it, and we'll talk to you next week.